Good afternoon, good evening, and maybe for some of you, good morning. Welcome all to the CSO panel briefing that we are presenting to you after the Desertification Summit, which took place in Djerba, Tunisia earlier this year, actually just 2 weeks away. Today, we would like to continue with where we started earlier this year, where you remember we had a questionnaire that we disseminated across the region. My name is Ellen Otaro Koidion, and I will be with you as a moderator today. I am a CSO panel representing for Africa. Together with me, we have the CSO panel members. That is Sopiko Babashvili, we have Amia Papan, Mariol De Sanchez, and Andy Morris. Welcome everyone. I think I will now present the first presenter to take off and take us through what is happening today, why we're here, and what is the way forward. Thank you. Because of the team and the presentations going fast, I want also to encourage the French speakers to be patient. We will conduct our translations of the presentations that will be presented today. Bienvenue à tous et à toutes. Bonsoir, bonjour. Moi, je dis que tous les personnes qui parlent français, s'il vous plaît, attendent un peu. Nous faisons les traduire après les présentations. Pas maintenant, mais après les présentations, ce sera les traduits très courts. Mais pour les autres qui, si vous voulez comprendre en plus et connaître plus ce qu'on a dit aujourd'hui, nous faisons notre webinaire pour la région Afrique. Et pendant ce webinaire, nous pouvons parler un peu long et après, nous faisons beaucoup de questions dans cet webinaire. Aujourd'hui, c'est le webinaire pour connaître tout ce qui passe à Djerba, c'était deux semaines passées. Et après ça, vous pouvez engager dans notre région pour connaître plus qu'est-ce qu'on doit faire. The agenda items, as I said, introduction of the Désertif'actions 2026. I've introduced the panel members who are here with me today, but the panel members, each one of us, we will have our presentations and we'll take you through the global consultation that we have started earlier this year, and many of you participated. And today is the time when we want to share with you the information, what you have contributed. That was shared also at Désertif'actions and what happened after that meeting in Djerba. But also we have concluded on separate issues of pastoralists, what are the outcomes and the way forward. And we have a guest presenter today on the outcomes of what happened in Djerba on communications, now going forward towards COP17. And of course, the CSO panel roadmap to COP17. And at the end, we will give you questions and answers segment. Welcome. Introduction to Désertification. Mariol De Sanchez, our chairperson. Welcome. Bienvenue, Mariol.
Thank you, Ellen. Good morning here from Lima, Peru. It's really nice to be here. Colleagues, partners, friends, I'm very happy, very glad to greet you today. I will be very short. I wanted to take this opportunity on behalf of the CSO panel to give a little more context about the Désertif'actions Summit. As it was mentioned, this is an international multi-stakeholder summit that initiated and run by the French CSO CARI. I'm sure most of you know about CARI and its work on combating desertification and land degradation. This summit initiated in 2006, and there have been 6 editions in total. The 6th one is the one that was recently held in Djerba, Tunisia, from the 25th to the 28th of March. And well, through consultation and sharing, the aim of this summit, Désertif'actions, since its first edition in Montpellier, it was in Montpellier, the first edition in France, the aim has been to better clarify the land's issues at stake, to prepare positions and take the message of civil society and other key stakeholders to the heart of ongoing international negotiations, particularly, of course, the UNCCD. And well, this recent edition in particular had a clear intention to build strategic messages and proposals to inform and influence the upcoming COP17 of the UNCCD in Mongolia. The focus of this summit was on drought resilience, but in general, the summit provided a space for aligned civil society perspectives in different topics related to land and to the current UNCCD topics that are under negotiation. So the event brought together over 500 stakeholders from 50 countries, and created a vital space where communities' realities, scientific knowledge, and policy ambition met. Also, I wanted to highlight that the CSO panel collaborated with CARI in the design and facilitation of working groups and other actions during this summit, as part of our role of coordinating the participation of civil society organizations in all UNCCD-related processes, including, of course, COPs, and you know we are on the road to COP17 in Mongolia. So as we look ahead to Mongolia, this summit stands as a strategic milestone, reminding us that civil society is not a stakeholder, but a driving force in the global fight against desertification, land degradation, and drought. So, well, these words, my intention was to provide a little bit more information on the importance, the strategic importance of this summit, and also how the CSO panel has been engaged, and of course, how we together, we will build from these outcomes for the next COP in Mongolia. So I hope this has been useful for the context and the introduction. Thank you very much. And again, back to you, Helen.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mariolti. And I would like, Abdulaziz, are you there? I know we were talking, and unfortunately, I cannot see who is online. So it's difficult for me to know. Okay, I will ask the second presenter to continue. We will translate everything later. Thank you.
Thanks, Ellen. I'll speak slowly so everybody can understand me and my accent, hopefully. Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here today to present and give an update on the work that the CSO panel have done on the build-up to the summit that happened in Djerba 2 weeks ago. Essentially, as I said at the summit, I'll say the same to everybody on this webinar. The whole of life depends on literally 6 inches of soil and the fact it rains. What we see globally are massive impacts from growing deserts and also drought. Even in my wet country, in the UK, where it rains all the time, we have issues with drought and flooding and soil degradation. So your voices are massively important to us as a panel, particularly as we build up to COP17 and form those key messages that we're going to deliver to the focal points and the party delegations. On the build up to the actual summit itself, in order to gather these voices and get some insights into the impacts of drought on the ground, we ran 2 sets of consultations, which was a global survey and a regional consultation. The global survey happened in February to March, and the regional consultations then happened in March. And I'm going to give you both views. I'm going to give you the global view, and I'm going to give you the regional view. So we could move to the next slide, please. That would be fantastic. So the key findings of the panel from the global consultation, we're very much around kind of 5 areas around the impacts of drought, the unmet needs of populations, the key barriers we face to actually mitigating drought, overcoming drought, the financial mechanisms needed for us to actually combat drought in the long term, and what should be the key policy messages that we'll be taking forward. So in terms of drought impacts, the global view is very much around loss of biodiversity, which we're aware of. And when we lose biodiversity, we lose ecosystem services, which in turn results in a decline in soil health and also the long-term productivity of land. So we need good land stewardship in order to overcome this. Urgent needs around water security, particularly around livelihoods, that we need to make climate resilient. And also we need to build on this ecosystem loss to restore ecosystems to support good soil health and combat desertification. Now, key barriers, there's weak coordination across sectors and institutions. That's across water, across agriculture, across climate governance at both local and national level, and insufficient financing so we can prepare for drought. So we're not just being reactionary, we're not reacting to drought, we're actually being proactive when it comes to these issues and these events that affect all of us globally. In terms of financial mechanisms, they need to be accessible, flexible, but also they need to be long-term, not short-term. So financing that reaches local actors, and again, it goes back to this word I said before around us being proactive, putting something preventative in to build resilience within our approaches to drought management and combating drought. In terms of key policy messages, there needs to be a real shift, a system shift from a reactive response to proactive, preventive drought management. So government, policymakers, local government, municipals are prepared for drought and have the tools and the financial mechanisms in order to overcome this. In terms of the regional consultation, we did have some very clear key messages across the regions and also some that were very much in common across every region. So in Africa, it was very much around empowering communities, particularly women, the youth, indigenous peoples, and pastoralists in water and land governance. And governance is a key word there, giving rights to these focus groups in order to work with government, with policymakers, with industry, with local populations to combat drought. In Asia, it's very much around securing pastoralist rights, strengthening rangeland institutions, and promoting locally relevant early warning systems. So again, moving from this reactive sense to more of a proactive sense in terms of drought management. In Latin America and the Caribbean, there was a call to implement water management, integrate indigenous knowledge, and promote holistic territorial approaches. So we have uniform approaches to this issue around drought. In Western Europe, in my region, it was very much around advanced urban water reuse, monitoring soil health and how it's degrading, and also green space expansion is massively important when it comes to flood management and combating drought. And in Central and Eastern Europe, there's very much around reforming water and land legislation and moving it from maybe a central kind of governance policy piece to local actors on the ground in local municipal governments so that they can be integrated in planning and this proactive response to drought. The next slide, please, Sapiko.
And I guess floor is mine.
Yeah. I'll hand over to you and Mia.
Okay, thank you. And dear colleagues, good morning, good afternoon, good evening.
Sorry, Sapiko.
Yes, Ellen, please.
Apologies. I would like to invite Abdulaziz very briefly to summarize for the Francophone, then I'll give the floor to you, Sapiko.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Ella,
can Abdullah raise his hand and then Ella can allow him to speak?
I have already requested Ella. Please, Ella, have you unmuted Abdulaziz?
Yeah, I have been on mute already.
Thank you. Proceed. Just briefly.
Bonjour à tous et à tout le monde. Bonjour, bonsoir à tout le monde. Donc, moi, je vais juste vous faire un petit résumé de ce qui a été dit par Hélène, Mario D, mais aussi Andy Maurice. Et c'est pour juste, ça, c'est juste une réunion du panel à l'issue du sommet sur la désertification 2026 qui s'est tenu à Djerba. Donc, sur la présentation de Mario D, elle nous parlait ici un peu de l'importance de Désertif'actions qui a été tenu du 25 au 28 mars à Djerba en Tunisie, qui est une organisation, qui est un événement global qui est organisé par une organisation française du nom de CARI. C'est une organisation qui a reçu plus de 400 participants venant de 50 pays. Et le sommet visait à construire un contenu de plaidoyer de la société civile afin d'influencer les décisions prises lors de la COP17, mais aussi de pouvoir renforcer le voix de la société civile et prendre des recommandations qui seront aussi présentées lors de la prochaine COP qui se tiendra en Mongolie en août 2026. Et aussi, elle a aussi parlé du rôle qu'a joué les CSO Panel afin de vraiment activement jouer, activement prendre part des rêves de la société civile lors de cette organisation, parce que nous savons bien que les sociétés civiles jouent un rôle très important, très essentiel au niveau des activités de la dégradation des terres, etc. Donc, elles ont travaillé avec les Nations Unies sur la Convention sur la lutte contre la désertification afin qu'une représentation massive des sociétés civiles soit présente lors de cette organisation. Et donc, Désertif'actions pour la première fois a eu lieu à Montpellier. Et donc, cette fois-ci, c'était en Tunisie. Donc, voilà, il y aura une prochaine fois, donc le lieu n'est pas encore précis. Donc, c'était un peu ça par rapport par rapport à la présentation de Mario D. Maintenant, par rapport à la présentation de Andy, c'était sur les principales conclusions de la consultation mondiale voilà, des territoires résilients à la sécheresse. Donc, Andy nous a parlé ici nous a parlé ici de l'impact de la sécheresse, qui est une perte de la biodiversité et des services écosystémiques, mais aussi de la dégradation de la santé des sols et la baisse de la productivité des terres à long terme. Et on nous a parlé lors de la réunion aussi, il nous a parlé des besoins urgents qui doivent être pris en considération, tels que la sécurité de l'eau, les modes de subsistance, résilience face au changement climatique et aussi aux restaurations des écosystèmes. Mais aussi des principaux obstacles, tels que la faible coordination entre les secteurs et les institutions, eau, agriculture, gouvernance, etc., et financement insuffisant pour la préparation à la sécheresse. De là, il nous a parlé du mécanisme financier, voilà, un financement accessible, flexible à long terme qui va bénéficier aux acteurs locaux, mais aussi soutenir des mesures de résilience proactive et préventive. Donc, de là, il nous a parlé ici des messages politiques clés par région. Pour l'Afrique, on nous a parlé de l'autonomisation des communautés et intégrer les femmes, les jeunes et les peuples autochtones et aussi les éleveurs dans la gouvernance de l'eau et des terres. Au niveau de l'Asie, on nous a parlé de garantir les droits des éleveurs, renforcer les institutions relatives au parcours et promouvoir des systèmes d'alerte précoce adaptés au contexte local. Au niveau de l'Amérique latine et des Caraïbes, il nous a parlé de la mise en œuvre d'une gestion participative de l'eau, intégrer les connaissances autochtones et promouvoir des approches territoriales holistiques. Au niveau de l'Europe occidentale, il nous a parlé du développement de la durabilité des eaux urbaines, de la surveillance de la dégradation des sols et aussi une expansion des espaces verts. Maintenant, au niveau de l'Europe centrale et orientale, il nous a parlé de réformer la législation sur l'eau et les terres, moderniser les systèmes municipaux et aussi intégrer une planification participative tenant en compte des risques. Donc voilà, c'est ce que je pourrais vous résumer sur la présentation de Marie-Audie et de Andy Maurice. Merci bien.
Merci beaucoup, Abdulaziz. Maintenant, je donne le temps pour Sopiko et après Sopiko, ce sera Amia et après, tu pouvais nous traduire ensemble si c'est possible. Merci. Sopiko, please proceed and then Amia, and then we will have a quick translation after that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen, and Abdullah, thank you very much for your support in translating the webinar. Colleagues, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you very much for your time and joining our webinar today. As my dear colleague Marie-Audie explained, the aim of Désertif'actions Summit was to develop advocacy content for civil society organizations, addressing different audiences and different agenda items to influence the upcoming negotiations at COP17. And we will present the recommendations and priorities that they are emerged and agreed during the summit within the civil society organizations regarding 4 areas: strategic vision and alignment, substantive content, influence on negotiations, and the key civil society spaces that can be leveraged more effectively to influence negotiations. Let me start with the strategic vision and alignment. Currently, UNCCD has been working on the preparation of future strategy, post-2030 future strategic framework of the convention. And this is a momentum for us, for civil society and civil society organizations, to shape the vision, objectives, and strategic directions of the convention for the upcoming decade. And the civil society organizations during the summit recommended to reformulate, simplify, or merge certain objectives to clarify their meaning and strengthen the existing mechanisms within the convention and within the strategy, or adopt new mechanisms to improve the civil society representation in decision-making and negotiation spaces. Since its adoption in 1992 in Rio de Janeiro, the synergies between the 3 Rio sister conventions is one of the standing agenda items. And I mean Convention on Desertification, Convention on Climate Change, and on Biodiversity. And CSOs during the summit recommended to improve interministerial coordination, bringing together 3 national focal points of each conventions. Also, the presidencies and secretariats of these 3 conventions must develop a shared agenda. And also, one more recommendation from the CSO sides was to integrate synergies in working programs for different financial mechanisms to avoid the competition for the financial streams among these conventions. Now I will continue with the substantive content. Avoiding, reducing, and reversing agricultural soil, land and soils is one of the negotiation topics for the COP17. And the civil society organizations recommended the following priority areas: to prioritize prevention, land and soil prevention over restoration, because it's more cost effective, also faster to implement, and is also technically easier than the restoration. Also ensure policy coherence across sectors to avoid the fragmentation, trade-offs, or some overlap. Strengthen alignment between environmental and agricultural policies, and foster dialogue between ministries both at national and local levels, and enhance the knowledge production and wide dissemination on soil and land conditions, and use this information to inform land use planning at both national and local levels. I will stop here and give floor to my dear colleague Amia, who will share additional recommendations and priorities. Thank you very much. Floor is yours, Amia.
Thank you so much, Sofiko. Kindly, yeah. So, in influence and negotiation dynamics, so from the different group works, so we have actually bring some important points as providing evidence and lessons, learnings learned on the issues that are stake in the policy making areas, encourage strategic dialogues between civil society and country parties. Civil society must be involved in national COP preparation processes and in the implementation of UNCCD decisions. We have also identified CSOs should emphasize the drought issue to advance the progress on the decision. Policy and financial instruments aimed at improving the effectiveness of drought management at national and global levels must promote the transformation of agro-ecosystems by applying the principles of agroecology and placing the soil, water, agriculture nexus at the heart of this ambition. Engage with national focal points actively before COP and during the COP17. Thank you.
Thank you. Abdulaziz, je vous donne la chance pour traduire en cours, s'il vous plaît, pour les francophones. Merci.
Merci bien, Hélène. Chers francophones, c'est la présentation de Amia et de Sopiko. C'est sur les résultats de consultation du Désertif'actions. Et je commencerai par celle de Sopiko qui nous a parlé des projets de plaidoyer. Nous avons quatre contenus là-bas, c'est la vision stratégique et alignement, le contenu substantiel et la dynamique d'influence et de négociation, mais aussi une citoyenneté clé, espaces sociaux. Et comme vous voyez bien, c'est comme ça que tous les travaux des événements parallèles se passaient où il y avait des groupes de travail, des sessions au niveau des travaux, des événements parallèles où chaque participant avait quelque chose à contribuer. Maintenant, au niveau de la vision stratégique et alignement, nous a parlé de la nouvelle stratégie de la Convention des Nations Unies sur la lutte contre la désertification. Désolé. De là, nous avons parlé de 2 points, c'est sur la reformulation, simplifier ou fusionner certains objectifs pour en clarifier le sens, mais aussi améliorer la représentation de la société civile dans les espaces de décision et de négociation. Comme nous savons bien, les organisations de la société civile sont moins représentées dans les prises de décision. Mais au niveau de synergie, on nous a parlé de synergie entre les 3 conventions de Rio, l'amélioration, un instant, désolé là, oui, l'amélioration, améliorer la coordination interministérielle en réunissant les 3 points focaux. Les 3 présidences doivent élaborer un programme commun, mais aussi intégrer les synergies dans les programmes de travail pour les différents mécanismes financiers. Maintenant, au niveau du contenu substantiel, elle nous a fait parvenir prévenir, réduire et inverser la dégradation des terres et des sols agricoles. Et donc, voici les points qui ont été pris sur ça. Le premier point, c'est de privilégier la prévention à la réparation, qui est un modèle très efficace, mais aussi garantir la cohérence des politiques entre les différents secteurs, renforcer l'harmonisation, mais améliorer la production et la diffusion des connaissances sur les conditions des terres. Et voilà, sur la présentation de Amia, Amia nous a parlé de l'influence et des négociations dynamiques. Sur ça, on nous a parlé de fournir des preuves et des enseignements tirés des enjeux liés à l'élaboration des politiques, mais aussi encourager les dialogues stratégiques entre les sociétés civiles et les partis du pays. Et la société civile doit être vraiment impliquée dans les processus nationaux de préparation des COP, puisque nous sommes ceux qui savons vraiment les réalités qui se passent au niveau des communautés locales, mais aussi sur le terrain. Au niveau des espaces clés de la société civile à la COP17, il nous a parlé de l'organisation et des organisations de la société civile devraient vraiment mettre l'accent sur la question de la sécheresse pour faire avancer la prise de décision, les instruments politiques et financiers visant à améliorer l'efficacité de la gestion de la sécheresse au niveau national et mondial, doivent promouvoir la transformation des agro-systèmes en appliquant les principes de l'agroécologie et en plaçant le lien au sol, agriculture, au cœur de ces ambitions. Mais aussi collaborer activement avec les points focaux nationaux avant et pendant la COP17, comme l'a bien mentionné notre cher Daniel lors du webinaire précédent. Donc, merci et je vous redonne la parole.
Merci beaucoup, Abdulaziz. Maintenant, c'est moi qui vais parler. J'ai deux présentations parce que le deuxième présentateur, Babacar Sene, n'a pas ici. Moi, je vais prendre son présentation. Thank you very much, Abdulaziz. And now it is my turn, Ellen Otaro, to present so that you can actually, after my presentation, I will continue with the next presentation that was supposed to be presented by our colleague, our fellow CSO, a member from Africa, Babacar Sane, but it seems he's not available at the moment, therefore I will continue. Now, in the work that we conducted, the survey that we conducted earlier this year, included a specific theme on pastoralists. And this is specifically was organized because we understand going towards COP17, issue of pastoralists and establishing of the caucus specifically for pastoralists and issues of rangelands is a big thematic area, and it is going to be discussed. And we have learned this at the Désertif'actions conference at Jebra. The question that came out of the whole discussions that we had there was, how are the pastoralists going to elevate their voice so that they are heard at the decision in the UNCCD? How can they influence the decision? The response was, as my presentation, is through connection and work with the CSO panel in the respective regions. So therefore, it is first and foremost is to become accredited as a CSO, then participate in the consultations and the policy discussions led by the CSO panel. We do that at the national and international level, and we have seen that as a part of the processes, but also through alliances. If they don't exist, then build them through the women indigenous organizations, youth-led organizations, women-led indigenous constituencies, and as well as the academia and the legal advocates, because all of them, they contribute to the one thing that is environmental conservation towards UNCCD work, but also for the visibilities and to understand their concerns into the decision-making language, because the way we speak and the way we document is very important for the intergovernmental groups to receive that information, accept it, and work on it. Next slide. And we're saying that I've mentioned that, why do they have to connect with the UNCCD panel? It's because the pastoralists, they are present. They understand what is happening on the ground. They can feel the temperature change. They can feel the weather pattern change 2 weeks, 3 weeks before even the weather authorities understand. Therefore, these are the people that are on the ground. They know and they understand what needs to be done, and they mitigate that. We need that knowledge, and therefore, through the CSO panel and through the CSO activities, this information is captured, and the pastoralists become a subject that is present at shaping the policies and not just a topic that is discussed. Next. And I think at this stage, we have concluded. So because the next topic is separate, I will ask Abdulaziz to quickly go through this. I made it very short because of time to allow question and answers. Abdulaziz, s'il vous plaît.
Sur les conséquences, ça c'est sur les conséquences des éleveurs que notre chère Hélène nous a présenté. Elle nous parle ici de comment les éleveurs nomades peuvent être impliqués, surtout lors de la COP17. Pour un résumé, je vais juste résumer, c'est de pouvoir vraiment créer un partenariat avec des organisations de la société civile qui sont déjà accréditées et mettre en place une consultation et discussion politique menée par le panel des organisations de la société civile en lien avec les procédures, mais aussi établir des alliances et coalitions avec les mouvements de femmes, les groupes de jeunes, les communautés autochtones, les chercheurs, les défenseurs des droits et les organisations environnementales pour obtenir de la visibilité et du soutien, mais aussi traduire les préoccupations de la communauté dans le langage des décideurs. Et donc, c'est un peu ce qui pourrait vraiment, c'est un peu les procédures par lesquelles les éleveurs nomades peuvent être bien impliqués lors de la COP17. Maintenant, comment les éleveurs nomades peuvent-ils être impliqués? Ici, c'est de pouvoir établir des liens avec les groupes de travail et les circonscriptions des Nations Unies, des centres des Nations Unies, de la Convention des Nations Unies sur le contrat de désertification avec le groupe de travail, mais aussi les éleveurs doivent s'engager car il s'agit du bien plus qu'une simple présence. Nous avons besoin de leur knowledge, leur connaissance, etc. Donc, leur engagement et leur implication est très intéressante, mais aussi reconnaître, il s'agit de les reconnaître et leur dignité aussi. La reconnaissance de tout cela est importante, mais aussi grâce aux activités des panels de la société civile organisées en présence du CRIC et tout ça qui donne de la valeur à ces éleveurs nomades. Et c'est ce qui pourrait vraiment apporter une reconnaissance et une implication active à leur présence à la COP17.
Merci. Merci beaucoup, Abdulaziz. C'est très bien, c'est tout ce que j'ai dit. Now, I would like to address a very, very important topic. And this time we're talking about media and communication. One of the side event activities in Jerba was in communications and media engagement, now and going towards COP17. And what is the role of media in the desertification? Media shapes the people's opinion, public opinion. It influences policies, priorities, and brings visibility to the underestimated issues, including land degradation. During the side events at this desertification seminar, the following were the roles identified. That is media before the COP. The role of media will be to inform, to mobilize, and to prepare for the COP17. That is what CSOs are doing and how we are communicating our activities, but also our successes. Number two, the role of media will be during the COP. It is to inform what is happening, to influence what decisions will be made, but also to connect. And remember, we started preparing way before. And after the COP, the role of the media will be to monitor what was discussed and agreed, and maybe not agreed, but also to analyze and encourage accountability. Therefore, the role of the media is to establish a support group during the COP, I would say even before the COP, during the COP, and within the UNCCD to better structure media participation in the UNCCD process. This is strategically needed because the UNCCD process is engaging internationally, and it supports the production of innovative and credible content. All of these are communicated from media. And to strengthen the insertion coalition, we need to engage media as well for reflection and for action. Therefore, we are saying Désertif'actions must become a global media priority where journalists, and we're talking about all media practitioners, including the global, the social media activists, they should not only become the conveyor of messages and information, but we want them to become true agents of change. Therefore, they need to be informed by the panel, by the CSOs, correct information so that they can achieve lasting transformation through the correct information to the public. They educate, they inform, they influence, and they become the ambassadors of change like every other stakeholder engaged in the UNCCD process. And this is from me, the media practitioner as well. Thank you. Aboubakar, s'il vous plaît, j'espère que tu connais qu'est-ce que j'ai dit. Merci.
OK. Oui, ici, Hélène nous a présenté sur les résultats en matière de communication qui devraient être présentés par Baba Kassel, mais malheureusement qui n'a pas pu être avec nous. Dans sa présentation, elle nous a parlé des résultats en matière de communication, du rôle qu'il doit jouer avant, pendant et après la COP17, puisque le rôle des médias est très essentiel et très critique lors de ces grandes mobilisations, car elle sert pas seulement d'informer, mais elle sert aussi d'éduquer et de vraiment influencer et connecter les gens à travers les différentes informations et les différentes décisions qui sont prises. Donc, avant la COP, le rôle des médias ici est d'informer, de mobiliser, mais aussi de préparer les parties prenantes, mais aussi toutes les personnes engagées à prendre part à cet événement. Pendant la COP, c'est de pouvoir informer, influencer et connecter toutes ces personnes, toutes ces parties et toutes ces parties prenantes à pouvoir être au même niveau d'information. Après la COP, leur rôle est de surveiller, d'analyser, mais aussi d'encourager les responsabilités de chaque partie. Mettre en place un groupe de soutien avant et pendant la COP, et aussi au sein de conventions des Nations Unies sur la lutte contre la désertification, afin de mieux structurer la participation des médias au processus de la Convention des Nations Unies sur la lutte contre la désertification. Donc, c'est ici, c'est ce que nous disait Hélène sur le rôle de la communication, puisque lorsqu'il n'y a pas de communication, il n'y a pas d'information. Lorsqu'il n'y a pas d'information, il n'y a pas d'influence et il n'y a pas de connexion. Donc, le rôle des médias est très important car elle sert de mobiliser, elle sert d'informer, de préparer, d'influencer, mais aussi d'éduquer afin que chacun d'entre nous puisse bénéficier des revenus ou des résultats qui seront pris, des résultats de la COP, de la mobilisation de la COP, etc. Merci bien.
Merci Abdulaziz. Moi, je ne sais pas pourquoi j'ai dit Abdulaziz, mais tu es dire plus bien que moi. Tu expliquais plus bien en français que moi j'ai expliqué en anglais. Merci beaucoup. Je rentre à la panel. Thank you very much, Abdulaziz, for the explanation. I said that he actually said it even better than what I did when he said it in French. I listened to the way he presented. It's much better. The message is conveyed. And now I'm inviting back the panel. And this is the session for Q&A. Before we go to the Q&A, we want to know what are we going to ask. Therefore, I'm sending you, Andy, to give us the roadmap so that we heard one side, but we are hearing the second side is the roadmap for COP17, so that we have the appetite for our questions and be able to present what we want to ask. Andrew, welcome.
Thanks, Ellen. Thank you. So I'll be very brief so that we can make the most of the time to allow for the Q&A. But essentially, the panel has a roadmap on the build-up to COP17 around engagement with the CSO community and focus groups as well, to help really shape and get feedback on the key messages that we want to provide during COP17. So essentially, we are going to run a series of consultations, both globally and regionally, around the key themes of COP17. We know drought will be definitely one of them. Pastoralists will be another, but that will include coordination and actually networking and connecting with our focal points in our various regions, and also the various different focus groups such as Indigenous peoples, women and gender, pastoralists, of course, and youth caucus as well. And once we've completed this kind of activity on the build up to COP17, we'll have a whole set of key messages then that we'll then be able to pull together, take to the event, and actually present to the policymakers to ensure that your voice is being adequately represented during that summit. That's all from me, Ellen. Back to you.
Abdulaziz, est-ce que tu comprends? Tu peux essayer d'expliquer un peu? Oui?
Yes.
Okay.
Andy, thank you so much. I think I'm learning a lot from your accent before I get to UK. Okay. Andy nous a parlé des feuilles de route du panel des organisations de la société civile pour la COP 2017. Il nous a parlé de la communication et la coordination stratégique, la contribution au groupe de travail intergouvernemental du futur stratégique, du cadre futur stratégique de la Convention des Nations Unies, mais aussi de la consultation mondiale et régionale et une synergie avec les caucus. Ici, il nous a parlé qu'il y aura des questionnaires qui seront présentés et qui seront distribués au niveau des différentes régions où chaque organisation de la société civile aura la chance d'apporter sa contribution et que cette contribution sera retenue et sera mise en place et qui sera représentée au niveau de la COP17 afin que la voix des organisations de la société civile soit bien représentée lors de cette rencontre. Merci.
Merci beaucoup, Abdulaziz. Et maintenant, c'est le temps pour les questions. Si vous pouvez donner les questions, s'il vous plaît, amenez la main dans votre équipe. Je ne sais pas si c'est le laptop ou le téléphone. Tu dois amener la main et on va faire tout ce qui est possible à vous donner la chance de parler. Sinon, vous pouvez écrire dans le chat votre question. Merci. Thank you very much. Now this is the time for question and answers. Please raise your hand if you have a question. And if it's not possible, then you can actually even write it in the chat. Well, we will do everything in our possibility to unmute. So yes, I think there are people who are being taken care of already. Do we have questions? We have here I'm seeing in the chat, there are questions as follows. Influence of indigenous strategies. Wait, who can see it? Because mine is not showing clearly. I'll download questions. Yes, Andrew, can you see them? Yeah.
Yeah, I can see them. I think in the actual chat, there is the questions have been answered by Marioldi, but we do have a couple of hands raised. Actually, we've got Daniel Manguelli and Samrat Kuma Pete. I hope I pronounced that correctly, with their hands up. So maybe we could invite them to ask the question and then take it from there.
Yeah, but also the questions, there is a question, I'm seeing the questions also, whereby they says, I don't understand, could you see?
Yeah, they've been...
There's some questions. Okay, let's receive hands and then we'll come back to the chat. Thank you. Ella, I know you are helping us on this.
Yep, I'm just going to lower people's hands and allow them to speak. Bear with.
Yes. And before you speak, kindly introduce yourself, just a name, and continue with the question. No need to give us more information because of the time. Thank you.
So I'm going to allow Samrat to speak.
Okay.
If that isn't working, then please raise your hand again and I'll try again.
Yeah, maybe they're muted on their side as well. So when you are invited to speak, please unmute your microphone on your side as well, just in case you continue to mute.
Good evening from Bharat, everyone. I am Samrat. So I would like to ask a question that we saw a slide where pastoralist and the herding communities, our other speaker told that they have the basic knowledge on the grassroots so that they can help in the high level policy formulations because they know what change is happening onto the ground. So my question is that how we will be integrating these indigenous knowledge systems to this entire policy framework so that we can have the working real life solutions to curb the desertification, and as our colleague Amia told about the droughts and irregular rainfalls in the Asian region, how we will be integrating the indigenous knowledge systems from these indigenous communities who are living on the grassroots with the ecosystem and have developed a sort of knowledge, because presently no certain system is present so that we can integrate their knowledge into the action.
That's a very good question. Anybody would like to answer?
Yes, Ellen, I can provide a first answer or reflection, and maybe you can also join. What I can share about indigenous people's knowledge is that this is a topic that has been included, or well, it has been part of the UNCCD discussions from long time. I can say that maybe since the creation of the science policy interface, which is this platform that combines scientific specialists from parties, but also independent scientists. It's a formal group within the UNCCD, and they are well, they work through a work plan that is renewed every 2 years, and they have the COP mandate to deliver reports and to analyze different scientific evidence. And I must say that since at least 2 or 3 COPs, the past 2 or 3 COPs, including scientific, including traditional local knowledge, and particularly indigenous people's knowledge, has been always a requirement, let's say, or a recommendation from different parties to the work of the SPI. Also, for example, it was, and this is something that is now in the terms of reference of the SPI, is that they should put, how can I say, to include or to open the call for scientific, independent scientific science specialists to social science, and also to indigenous peoples holding traditional knowledge. So, for example, I know that the current SPI have a representative of indigenous peoples in the as member. So I would say that, and also as civil society observers, I have participated in several COPs before, and we are always including the inclusion of indigenous people's knowledge as part of the key messages, and we do the advocacy using these key messages. So what I can say is that, and finally, the other very important information, maybe you are aware of this now, is that that last COP give the mandate to the Secretariat to support the creation of an Indigenous Peoples Caucus. So this caucus is now in a process of consultation, of organization, and we expect that in this COP in Mongolia, the parties in the COP will adopt the decision of the final establishment of this Indigenous People Caucus. And we know, because of previous interaction, that integrating indigenous people's knowledge systems into decision-making processes, into LDN, this is part of their agenda of work. So we also envisage that once this Indigenous People Caucus is in place fully, they will be advocating for this inclusion. And of course, we are going, I'm sure, well, this CSO panel, the next CSO panel will be supporting that agenda indeed. But I wanted to mention the SPI because there is actually a process of discussions under that platform, because the SPI knows that they have this mandate to also continue strengthening and improving the engagement of indigenous people's knowledge into all their work, the reports, the evidence analysis, etc. So I hope this somehow answer your question. And colleagues, if you want to add something.
Yes, please. I would like to add to the pastoralists, because pastoralists also is a special group that don't record. It's very difficult for pastoralists to sit down and write or prepare reports because of the nature of this group. And therefore, folded in knowledge, indigenous knowledge, to be documented. And we had this session last year in Saudi Arabia. We remember in the COP16, we had a panel discussion, and also in Jebra, what we discussed, and it is linked to the presentation which just ended, is about how do you communicate. The pastoralists communicate your information through the CSO panel, because that's where we collect information, and we will disseminate it to what Marioldi has just presented, because that's the access to the other UNCCD platforms. That is one. Number two, pastoralists contribute your information to the national reports, because at the national level, the focal point, they collect all the information from the CSOs, and that information and knowledge that you will share with the focal point will be contributing factor, because it will be documented, it will enter into the government report. In cases where the national focal point are not accessible, therefore communicate, again we use the word media, whereby you can share the success stories, the information, the learning, because people read, politicians read, decision makers rely on the media for their decision, and they are found in the parliament and in the ministries. That is how that knowledge will be taken by decision makers, but also by the academia and by the relevant authorities. And combined together, they will definitely reach the decisions and the platforms at the UNCCD, just as we heard from Marioldi. Thank you. Any next?
Yeah,
yes.
I think we have Daniel Manguele, who had his hand up previously. So I'm going to ask him to unmute and then ask a question.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Do you get me?
We can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. I am Daniel from Cameroon, from Rayet. Okay. As our panelists were saying, that the CSO have to work with the government, our national focal point, to raise up our voices with the ones of the government for the upcoming summit.
Daniel, we cannot hear you. Maybe you type your question in the chat. Thank you. Can we proceed with the next question? Daniel, please type and we will respond to you. There is a question in the chat which is already responded.
There is no place to chat here. I don't know.
It is there on the top screen. There is two little squares. Okay. Please type because we can't hear you. Thank you. There is a question in the chat box from Dr. Dharmendra Nadimentla, and it was already responded. However, I would like to continue the response, to respond as follows. To your question, how national focal points, policymakers, and CSOs will be effectively coordinated on LDN in view of both processes and outputs. Again, this is through the reports, through the engagement, through the collaborations that we have, the discussions, the dialogues at the national and at the UNCCD international level, that means, and through the various processes that we have. Therefore, collaboration is the centerpiece of all these coordinations that you're talking about. We must reach dialogue and engage all stakeholders at the decision table, and also review the policies from the government at the national level, share with the CSOs, let them contribute to what is happening, let the policymakers understand what the CSOs think and say about the decisions that are being placed, and that is how we will contribute to the processes and the outputs, in addition to what you have been responded. Next question, please.
Okay, so we've got Blessed Jetto. I've just enabled the mic and I'm going to ask them to unmute.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Blessed Jetto from Nigeria. I just quickly want to make mention of this issue about pastoralists. Now, during the course of the presentation, part of the recommendation was to amplify their voices, give them more voices. But I am thinking beyond just amplifying their voices, in recent time, particularly across the sub-Saharan Africa, The pastoralists are not just a victim group per se. They have also become a weaponized group. States have continuously weaponized these groups against other segments of society. For example, in Nigeria, we've had a continuous and a persistent clashes between the pastoralists, which we may also want to address as headers, and then indigenous and local communities. And I am thinking, outside just looking at how to amplify their voice, how do we also get state? How do we address the issue of weaponizing this group against local communities? How do we get states to stop weaponizing the pastoralist group? How do we get parties to the convention to protect these groups and not continue to weaponize them against other segments of society? For example, local communities right now are overrun by armed pastoralists. And we have this issue where entire villages and communities are sacked and people are displaced. And this is because the state, political figures, continue to weaponize this group and use them as group and as tools. How do we address, outside just amplifying their voices, how do we also ensure states discontinue the culture of weaponizing this group? That is my question and my thoughts.
Very interesting. And I was reading, thank you very much. This is an issue of the Sahara. Sahara is a conflict territory. Unfortunately, we have interstate conflicts, but also we have social conflicts. And pastoralists, agriculturists, and other community members will always be in conflict. And when you say the state continue to weaponize, this is a very strong political statement. Unfortunately, it may be there because of this interest, because at the end of the day, pastoralists are the community people, although they say they have special community, just like the way we see indigenous peoples. They want to segregate themselves from other communities. But also, pastoralist is a business, and sometimes people invest in that, and that is the reality, and we will not discuss it here in the panel. However, how do we talk, what do we need to talk about them? When we're talking about raising voices, this is about when the pastoralists are discussing issues of establishing a caucus, for them to be heard and to be understood as a special group. To establish a caucus, they will need to raise that information through the CSO panel. However, to unleash the issues of weaponizing the pastoralists in the Sahel region, this is required in the bilateral agreements, but also multilateral agreements within the state and among the states in the Sahel region and in the Great Green Wall region as well, which is part of the Sahel is part of. And that is an issue whereby it is brought not only by pastoralists, but by the conflicts that are already existing in that region. So here we're looking at two things. We're looking at the community level, but also at the political level. And it's a bit bigger, and we need to engage more stakeholders, politicians specifically. What are the reasons why we have conflicts? How do we unleash the conflicts using what community groups? I think you are getting my message, my Nigerian brother, that this is beyond CSOs, yeah? But definitely we need to work on that, and by working, that's why the CSO panel will help to elevate that issue, escalate this issue to the UNCCD. And remember that the UNCCD will have the focal points. They are the government representatives. They will listen, they will hear, and they will take the message back home. That is, if we package the message correctly. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. We've got quite a few questions in a Q&A chat, and one person's got their hand up as well. So I think if we go to the Q&A chat now, and then maybe if we've got time, go back to the person. But Jida Choke asks, how can we ensure that real pastoralists are represented at COP17 rather than be represented by elites in urban areas far from the grassroots?
I think we've spoken about it, and I'll just summarize. Get engaged through the activities and the processes organized by the CSO panel. We are 5 here at the regional level and at the global level. We organize these processes. Be part of them, participate, and you will be present physically or theoretically, but either way, your concern and or your issue will reach the decision table. That's what I want to conclude that way. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. There's another one from Daniel who's just spoken. He said, as the CSOs have to work with national focal points to raise up or amplify the voices together for the summit, how do you make sure this is effective, or you still remain at the level of idea or wish? Now, I think you've touched on this about properly packaging the messages to national focal points to speak to their priorities. And this is something that we discussed at length during Désertif'actions, actually. How do we ensure that we're aligning to key priorities of government? How do we move away from necessarily activism towards more advocacy? How do we link more closely with academia to support the key messages in order to get the traction we wish to get at the COP17 negotiations? Is there anything else to add, do you think, Ellen, to that?
Yeah.
Oh, Mario, you're speaking.
Yes, exactly. And we also spoke, remember, during the panel discussion when we sat, remember my panel presentation where we said, engage the media. And again, we heard it today, engage the media and talk through the media, tell the world what you're doing. Then the focal point will know about you rather than you knocking on the door. That is one, but also contribute to the national report. And what happens, we have the control of sending information, but what happens to that information is beyond our control. We don't control what decisions are being made. Thank you.
We have a question from Patrick, who's asked, what are the process for CSOs to participate in COP17? I don't know if any of my other panel members want to answer that one. So Pico, do you want to come in?
Yeah,
perfect.
Thank you, Andy. Great question. So there is different steps that we need to meet to engage and participate in the process. First and foremost, if we want to be presented in person and be allowed to join the official plenaries and be presented at the COP17, we first need to be accredited civil society organizations. Maybe some of you here are already accredited organizations, but maybe some of you are not. So we highly recommend you to request the accreditation from the Secretariat. And also, if you don't know how to do this, where to find the information, what are the documents needed for this, after the webinar, we will directly share the presentation with you, where you can find the official email of the CSO panel, and we can share the instructions with you, what are the application form, what are the documents requested. So this is a very good momentum, because during the COP, the parties approve the accreditation of the civil society organization. So if you apply before the COP, you will gain the provisional accreditation and will be approved during the COP. So this is the first. If you plan to participate in person, please receive accreditation first. Second, as Andy mentioned, as a CSO panel, this is our role to coordinate, facilitate, and gather the voices of civil society organizations. So if you think that there is some special actual need or barrier or a key policy message in your territory, in your region, you really wanted to voice, please attend our regional consultations, our global consultations, take part in our activities. So then we will have opportunity to integrate these priorities and these recommendations into the official statements and the key messages that we will deliver during the official plenary sessions. And also, just maybe my colleagues will also agree. What I really suggest to all of us is that in the upcoming days, and it's already available, some documents, the agenda of provisional agenda for the COP is already available on the webpage of the UNCCD. So if we want to be very well prepared for the negotiations and what are the topics at stake, we need to read very carefully the official reports from the Secretariat, from the parties, from the global mechanism, and always all the stakeholders to find out where are the specific gaps and what extra we can suggest the parties. So there are some areas that we think is important, but the COP has its own specific agenda. So we need to find the specific thematic areas that will be negotiated and share our opinions on this. So to do this, we need to read all the documents very carefully. And yeah, one more thing. It would be very helpful if you have some coordination and networking with the national focal points and send them our messages, our recommendations, and ask them to take this into consideration if it's possible for them. And also, last part from my side, there are a lot of parallel events and parallel, how to say, consultations and negotiations. So I would also suggest more coordination and synergies between all the civil society organizations to ensure that we have all, we are all on the same page and have we all know what are our priorities and not to be fragmented. Thank you.
Thank you, Sapiko. Ellen, we have a question from Najoa, and I'll probably put this to you and Arione, maybe Amir, but it's, can UNCCD provide CSOs financial support to attend COP17 and participate in these negotiations? And then we'll go to Michael, who's had his hand up for a while, and I'll enable his mic to ask the question.
Yeah, very quickly, because I attended the meeting today. Sorry, Babakar is calling me. I'm not able to pick up his call. What I'm saying very quickly, because we attended today earlier the DryNet meeting, and it was more information on the participation for the COP17 will be known after 1 week or so. Whether there'll be some financial support, we will know later. But what we all understand is that finances are shrinking and continue to shrink. Therefore, we need to understand those issues and to work around them. So yeah, next question is for the person who raised his hand. I'm giving that floor to you, Andy.
Thank you. I've just I've asked Michael to unmute. Michael, if you're there, please unmute your mic and ask the question.
We allow the other person.
Hello. Good evening from Bharat. I am Bhavarlal Sen, a UNCCD accredited NGO. My request, one point put up during this question. Actually, our organization efforts were undertaken at the community level to develop pasture and prevent soil erosion. Initiative that involved harvesting rainwater to reclaim and develop at barrier land. However, the government subsequently granted mining license to contractor. This has led to deteriorations in land quality and it having an adverse impact on community health due to dust pollution. So, what steps should be taken to address this situation? We hope that the our AMIAG and UNCCD will take this issue into consideration and join us to these efforts, and that concrete recommendation will be forthcoming from UNCD. Thank you.
May I respond? Thank you very much for this very important question. I will respond not only as the CSO panel representative, but somebody who went through this case scenario way back in my country, and I live and work in Tanzania. This is, first of all, the issue that we are seeing about allowing mining or any other work that is the government gives a certificate or allocates the permission to conduct. First of all, we need to understand, is it in line with the government priorities? Sometimes it is. And unfortunately, it affects the well-being and the health of the communities. Therefore, the role of the civil society is to raise the awareness of the challenges or of the consequences of what the government decided to do. Don't do it in a very negative way because it will backfire. And that's when we heard from the Nigerian case where we hear that the government is, it says weaponizing. That is where the conflict comes in. So don't do it that way. Don't do in the activist way. It will also backfire. The most convenient way is negotiation, but before you negotiate, you create awareness. How? Again, engage the media. How will the world know what is happening if you did not show it in the media? When you go to the media, don't state that this is the problem. No, state that this is what is happening on the ground. Because of X, Y, Z, we are seeing these are the results. Therefore, continue building that and show the consequences of that mining activity in that area. Eventually, it will become an agenda for changes in priority, changes or maybe even, revoking the permit and assistance from the global community to address your issue. So dialogue is happening through negotiation, but also through the visibility that is conducted by communication and engaging the media, but also platforms such as this where we're having this conversation, engage with all other organizations, the caucuses, the similar groups in your region, in your country and in your region, and together you will achieve. I hope I've answered your question. Thank you.
Marioldi, Ellen even, sorry, apologies. Apologies, Ellen. Apologies, Marioldi. I was getting you mixed up there.
Yeah, don't worry.
I think we have one more question. I think we've got time for one more from Michael. So Michael, if you can unmute your microphone, please, and ask your question, that would be fantastic. Thank you.
While we're waiting for Michael, we have a question from Marisa Young. Thank you very much, Marisa. You are our continued supporter. And your question is, when do we start working in working groups to move forward with messaging and preparation, especially considering the press contacts and the media impact achieving around desertification? And we want to say, as the panel, we will start very soon. Be prepared. You are on the list. And immediately after we know more about COP17, we will start engaging on that. So watch this space. That's for you, Marisa. Thank you so much. And I think Somebody says, reply of Ellen, balanced answer of negotiation and media engagement is truly great. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Dharmendra. Yeah, I think there are comments. So Michael, that is up to, we give you the last, otherwise we have to wind up because it's been a fantastic meeting. Do we have any more hands? Andy, Ella?
No more hands. No more hands, Ellen.
Thank you. So thank you very much, everyone, for your participation, for your time, for your contribution, for everything that you have said and contributed to our panel today. Indeed, for us, this is important because now we see the direction where we are heading together, not as a panel, but all of us as a team that we work together. And it's not me who will say the closing remark, although I will wrap up. It is all of us. I'll give a chance to all my colleagues to conclude, and then I will postpone. I won't close it because this is the beginning of our work towards COP17. I'll be the last. But right now, I want to give a chance to all my colleagues to say at least one phrase. Thank you.
Maybe I can start,
yes.
if you allow me. First of all, thank you very much, all dear participants and dear colleagues, for your time and engagement. Really appreciated. Yeah, as Ellen, you mentioned, we have a long way toward the COP17, and we have very intensive upcoming months. And me personally, and also as a panel, we are open to collaboration and networking, and we are always welcome to your initiatives, to your ideas, to your recommendation and priorities. So yeah, we are committed for partnership and joint effort. Thank you.
Next. Is it
I'll go next, Ellen, shall I? And then, yeah, you've heard of me a lot today, so apologies. By the way, just thank you everyone for attending this afternoon. Thank you to my panel colleagues as well who work tirelessly behind the scenes, as we all do. We are volunteers. We're not paid to do this. We do this on behalf of you guys in the regions, and we have a real sense of responsibility to you all as well. So when you see the invitations that will be coming out around consultations, around working groups, around these type of webinars, please try to make the time and effort to engage with them and attend, because your voices do matter and we do listen to you. So we really want that input from the CSOs across all the regions to help shape the key messages going forward into COP17. That's everything for me, Ellen.
Thank you. Marioldi, our chairperson.
Yes, thank you, Ellen. Thank you, colleagues. Just echo what my fellow colleagues have said. And of course, thanking you all for joining us today. Also, especially the organizations from my region, Latin America and the Caribbean, thank you for taking this time. And as said, we will be here for you. We will do our best to continue this facilitation, this coordination. And maybe I would ask a little patience from you all, because I know we have a lot of expectations and we have good ideas and want to do a lot of things, but I think we also need to be a little bit realistic on the time. We have short time in this opportunity. COP is in August. Usually in previous COPs were held in November or by the end of the year. This year is particular. This will be in August, with that left us with not too much time, but I am sure that if we continue this dynamic of dialogue, of coordination, we will achieve great things together. As Ellen said, we are only facilitating, but it's you, the ones that are going to be at the end delivering the work and the content, the passion, etc. So thank you very much. And back to you, Helen.
Thank you. And on behalf of Amir, I think he's not here right now, but he was with us. Amir, I'm not sure if you're around, but he's a very, very important person. And this is a photo of Amir, Ellen, and we have a youth caucus representative, Andy and Supiko. Marioldi, you were represented by all of us together in Jerba. What I want to say is that without you, we are nothing. And without your voices, there is no UNCCD decision made. Therefore, CSO, you have a role to play. Abdulaziz, thank you very much for being with us, for translating, and you are a very important person throughout our meeting. I'm not saying goodbye, I'm saying adios, arrivederci, until we meet again. À tout à l'heure, on se verra tout de suite après, je ne sais pas quand, but we're going to meet very soon because this is the beginning of our work. Marioli said it very well. August is not far, it's just around the corner, but we have a lot to do. Time is not on our side. So let us work together. Let us participate in our conferences and meetings. Should there be any issue that you need to have at hand, reach out to your regional representative. We are here. You have seen us. You connected with us. Feel free to contact us. We work as a team. We listen to you. We collaborate with you because without you, we don't exist. Thank you. Enjoy your evening. Enjoy your day. Arrivederci.